Hello and welcome to Wake and Jake as we are deep into the baseball season, week and a half. It's April 7th. Vladdy Guerrero extension. We'll talk about that. I have a new theory developing about how good your best player has to be in baseball, which feels like we've come a long way from that. I may make Jolly or Foolish fight for it. Every day. And we'll do our regular kind of baseball roundup, round the horn, to see what's going on from this weekend, and the real inside trip to Chicago. You may have heard whispers about it. If you haven't, there will be some good Jake storytelling at the end of this. So with that, let's get Vladdy quick. I think after a certain point, there's only so much to talk about. If you have no idea, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. just got $500 million for 14 years. Years in contracts are becoming more and more, I guess, I don't want to say aloof. Like, I think players are just hunting money totals, and then I think it's your priority of how long you want to play. Like, Corbin Burns did 6 years with the Diamondbacks with opt-outs and all of that. That him and Max Fried, money-wise, came out to a similar area, but Max Fried did 8 years. They're like, if Corbin Burns did 7 years with Arizona, I think it probably just would have been like 10 million more, but the AAV would have went down. I don't know. That's for another time. Vladdy Jr., 500 mil. He stays in Toronto. The Vladdy Guerrero Jr. free agent exercise had become an interesting one. From we know who his father is to top prospect to called up at 20 years old to an incredible 2021 season where the 22-year-old had 6.5 WAR, finished second in the MVP. We're going to circle back on some MVP talk. By the way, that second place was to Shohei Ohtani. That, you know, if we start doing Shohei asterisks in a few years, which I think we will.
Yeah.
Not like really, but in sports talk world, yes. In theory, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. would have won that if Shohei Ohtani didn't exist, a guy that we never thought would exist. The expectation then moved. The whole expectation for the Toronto Blue Jays had moved, and there was some playful comedy around that. If you're someone who wasn't a Blue Jays fan, the preview, the movie, that whole thing, get your popcorn. 48 homers that year. He led the league in on-base percentage, slugging, and OPS. Those two combined to make that. With a 311 batting average, which is like, whoa, okay. Vladdy's kid. You see clips of him with Vladdy Sr., and you're like, wow, so this guy grew up around baseball. One of the most well-liked players ever. Like, if we did that generation of, like, well-liked baseball players, Vladdy and Ichiro jumped to the forefront for me of just, like, pure beloved.
Just, like, literally, like, most popular players of those years.
Nobody hated them. Vladdy, both of them had crazy arms, which that's a good way to get fans. Ichiro, his own unique style. Vladdy, kind of his own unique style, like a bad ball hitter, just swing away, scared to put it anywhere against him. That now his son is a major leaguer, winning runner-up to MVP to a guy that we didn't think existed. He comes out in 2022, and it feels lackluster, but I also remember on this show, talking baseball, wherever, putting up a little bit of a fight for Vladdy, because 2021, there's a little juice in those balls. That maybe that helped Vladdy, and he played at the minor league park up in, was that Syracuse or Buffalo? Syracuse, right?
They played in Buffalo. But then they started the year in Dunedin.
There was some 2021 that with that ballpark and with the balls and whatever, but who cares? He's 22. There's going to be great seasons to come. The next year, 160 games, 32 home runs, an 818 OPS, which doesn't jump off the map, especially when we're talking about these elite guys. But it's still, he had a 133 OPS plus that year. Hitting was down in 2022, and so Vladdy's numbers, a 133 in other given year, could be 850 or something that pops just a little bit more. 818, unfortunately, when we're talking about elite baseball players, we're not super impressed by that number. That it was like, okay, 4-WAR season, that's fine. You know, baseball can happen. He's still young. That's good year. He won the Gold Glove. Some people are not about Vladdy's defense at first. Whatever. That's for another time. It's not. We're talking his contract, Jake. Talk about it now. He won that Gold Glove. Some people don't like his defense. And I've seen a lot of the montages and highlights that you could be like, whoa, that's not a Gold Glove first baseman. That's neither here nor there. It's getting better at it every year. IMO. 2023. Oh, boy. 1.8 WAR season. 156 games. 264, 345, a 788 OPS. So he was an all-star that year. I'll check the splits quickly. That I do believe he had a big fall off in the second half. Let's see. No, it's pretty balanced. So it's just an interest. Man, he had a bookend season. April, 885 OPS. September, October, 848 OPS. Everything in the middle starts with a 7, which, again, we're talking about a guy that just got $500 million to play baseball. And the trajectory at this point, we've seen a lot of young, good ball players that start out hot. The league figures it out. Injury kicks in, whatever it is. That there was questions about Vladito and who he is as a ball player, who he is over 162. Is the defense there? Is the offense there? And that's what this guy's getting paid off of. That's what Juan Soto got paid $800 million off of. Vladdy comes back last year and he goes nuts. 323 batting average, 396 on base, and a 940 OPS. If you got to see him in the second half of last season, you saw all the hype. And all the belief and all the... I think there's been times that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been hurt by having his name because we have set an expectation for him that is built off of how his father played, his Hall of Fame father. And he obviously set a tone in his early seasons. But in the second half last year, 63 games, 376. How many times do you see anybody with a batting average in that range anymore? Never. You see OPSs that 1.1, which he did in those 63 games. But 376 batting average, a 450 on base, a 678 slugging. That's special, rare air hitting from Vladdy. And maybe the best way to chop it up, because he actually had a bad April. So let me get you the game logs from that. We'll just leave April behind. Never needed it. So from May 1st to the end of the season, wish I could butter night out his last 2 games. He won dotted. From May on, 128 games, 345, 412, 1.002 OPS. That is 345 for 5 months. Nobody does that. Arise hasn't done that in a minute. Like, nobody does that. So maybe we need to change the scope of Vladdy, that he's one of the best contact hitters in the game. Nobody has that rep for him.
Like we talk about what is a pure hitter. He might be like one of the purest hitters at his best.
Right? Like if he continues to play like that, yeah, when you do best all-around hitters, Vladito's name may start coming up again. Now, he has to replicate it because, like I said, there's volatility in those seasons. But the important part for me is he just turned 26. March 16th, 1999. Just turned 26. His body, I think, has gotten better, which always feels a little weird to say. But it's just being honest, right? Like, if someone shows up and they're a Greek god or an Adonis, we have no shame in talking about that. If someone's a true big boy, like how many of you have old Dan Vogelbach tweets? Coaching for the Pirates, by the way. Vladdy, we've seen it. He got big, and then he got svelte, and then there's a little more in between. It feels like he's svelte again. And then it was one of the stories of the season, or I thought what was going to be one of the stories throughout the season, Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s free agency. Are the Mets going to be a new version of the Mets? And don't tell Jolly, snaps for Mets fans, giving Vladdy an ovation for his first at-bat. Blue Jays Mets in April. And the Mets fans are giving Vladito an ovation because they think we're the Moneybag Mets now. You're joining us. They're building Joe's McFly's dream team. Lindor, Soto, Vladdy. No. Wow. There's two guys, if I forget this, Beebs, which I probably will, two guys who are big winners from this Vladito contract, but it's not the time to bring them up. Kudos to you, Mets fans. That's some ballsy stuff. That's some New York stuff. I love it. But he won't be yours. So, 14 years, $500 million. The 14 years, yeah, some of the last years are going to be bad, and that's the life of these contracts. $500 million. Sheesh. I think I discussed it here. I definitely discussed it talking baseball. Trevor Plouffe was in town for Ball and Play, I believe. By the way, go check out the warehouse for Blitzball Battle 6 that's out now. Game 1 last night. Go check that out. Me and Trev, we're at the hotel bar. I don't want to paint a dream picture, but and we're yucking, and Vladdy comes up. I noted it just came out that Vladdy's agent said we're not negotiating after this date. I forget if it was the start of spring training or
if that was the Ball and Play times that was happening towards the very end of spring training. So they probably did the normal end of spring cutoff.
So that was and Trevor, and to his credit, now right, he's like, that's such BS. Like, who's ever just done negotiating? Like, if you're selling your house, and let's say you want to sell it before the summer. I haven't bought or sold a house. Saw my mom do it once. I don't know. But, okay, you want to sell your house by June 1st. That's nice. You don't get the offer you want. They're $20,000 low, making up numbers. Okay, on June 5th, if you get an offer that's $100K more, you're selling your house. So, made-up deadlines are made-up deadlines. For me, with what Juan Soto did in his free agency, because all you need is that one team, right? Usually two teams. I guess I'll say two teams, because Juan Soto also needed the Yankees to push the envelope, and the Blue Jays were in, by the way. Red Sox.
And the Red Sox.
People forget about that. Now they've just got Wheelier Abreu doing the same shit. That dude is out of control right now. Anyways, that I was like, if you're Vladdy and you've made it this far, you hit free agency. Let's say Cone and the Mets are nuts and you're Vladdy and you run back last year, you could start sneaking up towards 6, 7. I don't know. He's got the age factor on his side. And the other thing comparing him to Soto, I know Soto feels more generational and is more generational, and the career stats will tell you that. Although, entering his prime, if Vladdy could start running back last year, the stats don't end up being too far off. What Soto does getting on base, and you want Soto. Part of the Soto story was defensively. How long is he going to hold up in the corner outfield? He is a negative out there, average at his very, very best, leaning negative, and it's going to start getting worse. Now, if there's a player that ever looked like they're going to transition to DH as good as anyone, probably Juan Soto. And who knows, that could be 5 years. Maybe the Mets, they'll get some other good defenders in the outfield, and it is what it is. You can have one mid-defender. It's okay. You could still win baseball games that way. Hey, maybe it's 2 years, and the DH spot is open for the Mets, and Juan Soto doesn't mind it, and go Pig Poppy the rest of the way, knock yourself off. Devers might be in the process of doing that. And by the way, he had a really good weekend. If you were worried about him, wouldn't bet against that guy. Vladdy, let's say if there's some analytics that say don't clog your DH, it's bad for your team. Yankee fans have been frustrated at times with Stanton clogging the DH spot because when Judge gets banged up, it's like, well, it'd be sick to get him 2 DH days and an off day, but we can't do that because then if we take Stanton out, now we're missing half our lineup, which that's the old Yankees. The new Yankees just hit. Give me more torpedo bats. I think the Yankees are going to come back down to earth this week facing the Tigers pitchers and 20-degree weather. That'll be fun. Vladdy, if he can hang it first, the traditional position of hanging on, and let's say, again, guys with this level of talent, I always think there's more in the tank, or it's just not worth betting against. So Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hanging out at first base, he's 26. Could Vladdy do this, and could he play first at a certain level, even if it's average, till he's 33, 34? I think so. Could I see the DH transition in his future as we're talking about generational type hitters? Absolutely. And maybe that does come quicker. But it's a position of less concern about the defense as long as you can properly catch and throw the ball and be positioned right.
If you're like meeting the certain minimums.
Right. As long as you're not a new guy switching positions and you don't know where to be and when, like we can get you through that.
And we're not coaches by any means, but like I would think a position that's easier to improve at than a lot of others would be first base if you are going to get the reps in and work on like technique stuff. Cause like it's not like center field where it's like you need to be more athletic to get better at this.
Your skill has a chance to improve even though your athleticism won't. So like you're saying, shortstop, center field, like you won't have the pure bouncy athleticism as a 24-year-old, but your skill set, your hands are reading how someone throws the ball. Like that can get better. So I guess that's kind of the point of it. Okay, so Vladdy, you can't expect him to hit like Soto. Soto is just automatic. As Foolish Bailey said, and I liked a lot, he's the best hitter at not getting out. Vladdy, we fully don't know the profile yet. If Vladdy Guerrero Jr. runs back last year, where he had a 940 OPS, and I told you all the stats, you will look at him as one of the best hitters in the sports. It's just gone away from that. Toronto locks him up. I got into some good conversations with Toronto fans on Twitter/X about signing Vladdy and what is the number going to be at. And they made the good point that, like, okay, they were in on Shohei till the end. They were in on Soto till the end. They're supposedly in on every big free agent till the end. And they're like, if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has an 8 out of 10 season for himself this year, which, okay, what does that mean? Let's go back to that 850 OPS I made it before. Let's say Vladdy does that. He hits 300. The homers are a little low, and that homer year in 21 is the outlier. Fine. He hits doubles. He had 44 doubles last year. Like, if Vladdy had an 850 OPS at the end of the season, it's a little under his career numbers. He's going to get paid a bag. I doubt it's $500 million, if I'm being honest. I do think Vladdy is getting paid on his potential to do what he did last year, or at least a step up. A 9 OPS guy.
Yeah.
I think that's what.
And there's an element of knowing Toronto needs that guy. So there's the tax there.
Well, and that's where they won me over, because I gave my speech about Toronto has to pay an extra year, and Santander is an example of that, and Injin Ryu, going back to him, George Springer, like they had to go an extra year. If years and money enter the realm of kind of chaos and funny business, Blue Jay fans were like, hey, if we can get it done, we're going to get it done. And you know what? Yeah. And maybe sometimes sports shouldn't go past that next step. And maybe Vladdy has more in the tank. Maybe he can get close to 950 OPS and 1 dotted, and he's going to have a prime through 33 or something like that. Either way, the risk of losing him is gone. It's gone. He's here. He likes Toronto. You have a cornerstone piece. It happened. It's over. You don't have to worry about free agency. of one team driving up the price even more. If Vladdy runs back last season and he hits free agency, and let's say the Mets are in, like Steve Cohen wasn't getting beat on Soto. I don't know how they feel about Vladdy, but if they didn't want to get beat, that's Uncle Steve's whole thing. And what if there's another crazy wild card team? What if the Padres are back into money? What if the Giants make a World Series run and they're flush with cash? Like
Red Sox seemed like they were going to be very much in the Vladdy sweepstakes if it came to it.
What if there was a real Vladito sweepstakes? The Blue Jays been through that game, and now they don't have to go through that game. So I think Vladdy is a guy. I think when you zoom out and you say 21.6 career WAR at age 26, and he's going to be age 26 through the season. So let's say he has a 5 WAR season. You're talking about a 27 WAR guy. He has more WAR than his age. So that's a guy that if you're given that amount of money, the guy has Canadian roots. The guy's been there. It's done. It's over. Happy for Blue Jays fans. Happy for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's half a billy. It's half a billy. By the way, if you're ever looking for ammo for baseball's dead and all that stuff, or this sport, baseball's not popular, who did I just see? The Cardinals tight end, Trey McBride. Had the no touchdown streak. Very good tight end. He just got paid the highest tight end contract. $19 million per year. Go look at what Nick Martinez got. I realize it's all different.
Cap structure.
53-man roster, cap structure. But, baseball's doing well. Otherwise, they wouldn't be handing out $500 million to a guy that had question marks a year ago. At this time a year ago, Vladito had question marks. And now he's worth $500 million, and I, support it. So, 2 big winners. There was one that was noted that was obvious but not obvious. Kyle Tucker. Kyle Tucker, man. He is balling out for the Cubs. He is really good. I think he's a safer all-around option than Vladdy. Couple years older, Kyle Tucker is going to get so paid. If I need to dig up receipts from 3 years ago when I started crunching the math on it, Kyle Tucker might be in the $500 million range, which, again, I don't know if a lot of people picture King Tuck that way, but they should. And he's been killing it for the Cubbies, and they are loving it. The other winner, Pete Alonso. If you're the Mets fan that was like, well, they're saving the money for Vladito, they don't want to pay him. Vladito's out, Pop. I'll tell you who likes being a Met. Pete Alonso. I'll tell you who's going to have 1 billion RBIs this year. Pete Alonso. I think he's already got 11 through 9 games or something like that. The contract year clearly was semi a thing for him last year, or it's just a baseball season. Whatever. He won them a postseason game with a homer.
Far from a bad year.
And with Pete Alonso has that Pillow Insurance opt-in contract that Pete Alonso just did really good. Because will he out-hit Vladdy this year? Probably not. Will he out-homer Vladdy and you can sign him happily for 1/3 of the price? I think so. So that's good.
It's going to be, and I'm sure we will do this conversation a lot after the season, but by the end of the year, he should be the Mets franchise leader in home runs. There isn't an obvious pivot guy. It's going to be hard to tell your fans you can't keep him if he's going to be anywhere close to what he's been in the first 9 games of this season for the full year.
Right.
That's going to be a hard pill to swallow if you're the Mets. Your new brand is we're the Moneybag Mets.
Well, hey, and the other thing is, I said this before, what if Vladdy was the Red Sox plan? What if Vladdy was the Yankees plan? What if any of the other teams? Pete might have them back at the table. So this may have been massive for Pete Alonso. Kyle Tucker one made more sense this free agency-wise because he's probably the best player now. I don't think it's arguable even.
Yeah, there's an interesting ripple effect, not to get us distracted too much from Kyle Tucker specifically, but with Vlad no longer going to hit free agency, the next in their 20s superstar, it's becoming a short list. There's Tucker this year who'll be 29, and then we'll see who breaks out between now and then. The next one, I think, is Gunnar in 4 years.
Wow.
There's kind of a gap, at least as of the landscape at this moment.
Right.
And then we have some Gunners, Ellie, the guys who are young now that some of them will get locked up.
Where's Ben Rice on that list?
Very high.
It's not low.
I think he's 26 now.
Not low. Wow. I just got happy for Pete. Pete the meat. Good for the Blue Jays. They're still going to be a fun watch. What an exhale for Toronto fans. And hey, the other thing, if you're a Toronto fan, I know they talk about it a lot, but they traded for Andres Jimenez, who's going to start making real money. Who might be their shortstop next year if Bo leaves, maybe a little Bo insurance policy. They signed Anthony Santander. They locked up Alejandro Kirk. They have some young guys playing. When does Springer run out? That's got to be...
I think this is his last season.
Right?
I think him, Bassett, and I think somebody else come off the books after this year.
How could Patrick Court... No, he's next year.
Ooh.
Next year for George. That's what I've never understood how Patrick Corbin's contract ended, but George Springer's still going. Those timelines do not link up in my head. So one more year for George, who's actually off to a great start.
Great start.
After having a horrible start last year. So in this house, we root for George Springer and the national championship winning women Huskies. Congratulations, Gino, the whole squad. I always have a soft spot for Connecticut basketball, and they just win titles. Maybe that's why I have the soft spot. Finishing off on the Blue Jays, you mentioned it. Chris Bassett was a real free agent they brought in. Kevin Gossman, they paid real money. Jose Barrios, they paid real money. So Toronto, who's been banging the table about we have money, we're a big market baseball team, believe in us. You do. I believe you, and I guess you guys just, for the big one, the massive free agent, you guys kept getting the runner-up treatment or one of the runner-ups. Now it's done. Vladdy's the big one. If you can bring in these other pieces every year or two, the way free agency is supposed to work, I can bring in a Santander. Okay, you need a guy in the rotation, I can bring in Bassett. If you've got that good flow of money coming off, money coming in, great way to address your needs. Ecstatic for Toronto. Ecstatic for Toronto. And you should be ecstatic for MLB 9 innings. MLB 9 innings. Today's episode is brought to you by them. It's Major League Baseball in the palm of your hands with a wide variety of game modes from League Mode, where users can play through a season, to live player versus player. 9 innings has over 2,000 player cards to collect and use in your dream roster. Hey, do you like historic players? How about Adrian Beltre? I have a jersey of his. I think it's a medium, but I don't think it fits. Derek Jeter, pictured behind me. Joe D, Kirby Puckett, and Satchel Paige. Hello. If you haven't seen the trailer, go check it out. More name drops. Trout, Griffey, Maddox. How about Trout? Maybe we'll talk about him. Download and play MLB 9 innings 25 today with the link in the description. Let's see. We're already... God, I chewed through a lot of that. Hey, here's what I'll do. I'm going to tease my theory, and then I'll do some baseball quick hitters, and then I'll do the Chicago story. Maybe for myself and BBD, but I know there's people that'll like it. So I've got a theory developing that's counterintuitive to a current baseball theory that everyone hates. I think you need, and this might sound blatantly obvious, and again, I might actually kick this to Foolish and Jolly because they would do a good job where I would do an okay job. You need great regular season players to make the World Series, if not win the World Series. And so, okay, zooming out, Jake, please stop talking. Because, yes, we know if you're going to win the World Series, You're absolutely right. I guess for me, we've entered this area of teams like even the good AL Central teams that we give credit for, Brewers, Guardians, of this concept of, I don't know, if you can accrue WAR in different positions, it's the same as paying for all these great players. Yada, yada, yada. Good team, all of it. Baseball, you can't just have a star and be good, a la the Mike Trout Angels. Kind of that whole concept. Like, baseball's a team sport. You need a good team. Okay, that all makes sense to me. I guess I was going through the World Series winners last night, and I was like, is there anything to how good your best player needs to be to go to the World Series? Like, how many, obviously you need a good team, and no one's questioning that, but like, do you need a dude? The Los Angeles Dodgers last year, they had Shohei Ohtani. By the way, the Yankees on the other side had Judge. Historic for the cities and MVPs, and this is the first time 2 MVPs. Whatever. Texas Rangers the year before. As Foolish noted, Marcus Semien finished 3rd in MVP. Seager was 2nd. The Houston Astros the year before that, Yordan was 3rd in MVP. Altuve was 5th. My current outlier, shockingly, is the Atlanta Braves from 2021. They did have 2 top 10 in the MVPs. It was Austin Riley and Freddie. But I guess the current theory kind of revolves around either top 3 or multiple in the top 5-ish. Austin Riley finished 7th. He was 0.3 WAR off from being 3rd in the MVP voting that year. It went pretty chalky. Fernando was 3rd, just ahead of him. So the Braves are my current outlier, and maybe they should be viewed as more of an outlier. I'm not talking about their 1-7 start. But if you remember, that team was around 500. They had the crazy trade deadline. The offense went nuts, and the bullpen came together in the postseason. But for now, surprisingly, they're my outlier. The 2020 Dodgers, Mookie had the highest WAR, 2nd in MVP. So again, do what you need to do with that. Your 2019 Washington Nationals, you're like, wait, is that one of Soto's best years? Anthony Rendon, 3rd in MVP voting. That one really punches you in the dick, huh? Yeah. Boston Red Sox 2018, Mookie Betts again. People forget he was there, MVP 1. The year before that, Jose Altuve, MVP 1. Debatable. That Houston team was doing a lot of other stuff. The Chicago Cubbies, Chris Bryant, MVP 1. This is where I stopped my research last night. The Kansas City Royals, they kind of broke the sport a little bit, if you remember that Royals bullpen. Still, if I wanted to, I believe my guy Lo Kane finished 3rd.
That's what I'm seeing here.
So, the year before that, was that the Giant? Oh, that wasn't one of Buster's good season. Anyways.
Still 6th.
Still 6th. But it breaks my mold just a little bit there. But I don't know. There's something dumb here where if you're a good enough team that made the postseason, you had enough players that have had success. Like, if a Cleveland Guardians team had gone and won the World Series, like, I would just point to Jose Ramirez probably, right? Because he's got top 3 MVP votes. So I'm not sure what the theory is. I don't know if it's... You guys know I jumped to this NBA Jam version of baseball that doesn't make sense to anyone. That's like, how good are your top 3? I just think there's something manifested there that, I don't know. When we just went through that list, in the past 10 years, has there been only one World Series team that didn't have a top 3 in the MVP?
I believe so.
That quick math I just did.
And the ones that didn't still had a guy like on the fringe of 5, with the exception of one of them, I think.
I think since 2015, there was only one team that didn't have a top 3 MVP, and that was the Atlanta Braves 21 team. So there's something there. I don't know what to do with it. There's a lot of good teams in the playoffs. Again, the other side of this that I haven't weighed enough is like, okay, going back to last year's American League, like Gunnar and Bobby Witt, like you could have checked a lot of boxes for the AL. So that's where I guess in my head, I haven't researched that side of it. Like, how many playoff teams even are not eligible or don't have a top 3 MVP, right? Because you're probably going to have at least 2 or 3. So I think I want to dive into that further, and I hope it's half bucking a trend of not caring about signing great players. Or maybe, Toronto, if Vladdy is now that guy, you have your guy that every year you're like, well, he can do it. He can be a top 3 MVP. There's a few teams
he does what he can do.
There's a few teams that I don't say don't have that guy, but I'm buying a little San Francisco Giants stock. They're off to a very good start, so that helps. I did tell you guys I was a little in on them because I was very surprised by their starting pitching depth. Some of the guys, they have 3 guys in AAA that are major league starting pitchers. And there's a lot of teams right now scrambling to put 5 major league starting pitchers on there. Like our Yankees have Cookie Carrasco out there and Will Warren.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't know the difference between them and Landon Roop and Hayden Show Me Your Bird Song and a couple of these other Giants pitchers. I like looking at the list because it really punched me in the face. Not you, Joe Whitman. Where is it? Not Jelly. Oh, Kyle Harrison, Keaton Wynn, and Tristan Beck, all in AAA. On their major league team, Hayden Birdsong is currently relief pitching for them. He was a young pitcher who had some good outings for them last year. So Landon Roop is in their rotation, who honestly I know the least out of those other pitchers I just mentioned. It's just a weird thing with the San Francisco Giants, if it was July and I told you the Giants rotation was Landon Roop, Hayden Birdsong, Tristan Beck, Kyle Harrison, and Keaton Wynn, you'd be like, yeah, that sounds kind of like a Giants rotation. That's 4 of those guys aren't currently in their rotation. So they have some pitching depth that they've needed a few things to click offensively. Willie Adames is going. Elliot Ramos could potentially take a step like nobody kind of believed, and he's balling out again. I guess for me, with my new MVP theory, I was like, if you're really going to believe in the Giants, who's that guy? It's still Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman had a 7-WAR season last year. He's off to a fantastic start this season. That, I mentioned this at the end of Talking Baseball, and Trev was like, I was wondering how Trev was going to react, and Trev was into it, and he goes, "You need a show pony." And he's like, Matt Chapman is that guy. So, Matt Chapman, who was a player that, hey, Beebs, I might have to dig up some receipts because if you remember, I viewed him as a Marcus Semien third base type. I was like, okay, so I get a hard worker. I know I'm getting the defense, and maybe there's hitting there. Could be something there that Matt Chapman's contract, if he puts up a season like he did last year, becomes a fantastic value. And the cornerstone piece the Giants were so desperate for. One other follow-up theory that I don't have full information on yet. Cody Bellinger, good, even though he's not off to a great start with the Yankees, a little bit of back stuff, but his last 2 years with the Cubs is what I'm talking about. Cody Bellinger had a shoulder injury. Set him back, clearly. The stats are horrific. And then he had 2 nice major league seasons where he looked like a version of Cody Bellinger. One really good, one good. Michael Conforto with the Dodgers looks amazing. What do those 2 have in common? Serious shoulder injuries. That I'm wondering, the shoulder, very important in baseball. I wonder if there's something to be studied about, it takes 1.5 years to fully recover or to get your power or something like that. Because Michael Conforto with the Dodgers has looked incredible. And maybe it's just a good week. Maybe he's on a great team. But if you go back to some of Conforto's Mets years, he had some big boy seasons that a Dodgers team that felt like they had incredible depth everywhere, but especially the outfield, from James Outman to Andy Pajes to whoever's next for them. Like when the Conforto signing dropped, you were like, what? They're doing this?
Yeah.
A, they half need him right now. But B, if you go back to Conforto, I mean, 2019, 856 OPS, which, by the way, 127 OPS plus. That was one of the juicy ball years. So those numbers I said about Vladdy before kind of checks out. The 2 juicy years are Conforto's best years. So there's something of note there. But 2017, a 939 OPS. Like, I don't care what's in the ball at a certain point. Like that's big. Currently 1 dotting. It's 9 games. The swing looks good. And yeah, I guess I've just had my bunny ears, my antenna ears up on Conforto because the Dodgers, Gavin Lux was incredible for them last year. In the second half especially, I should clarify that. I've read off these numbers too many times as former not Yankee Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux in the second half last year was 304, 391, 899. That's really good. Former top prospect. We did the whole thing. How like, hey, maybe the light bulb's gone off and Dodgers, blah, blah, blah. He still didn't really hit lefties, but the Dodgers love a good platoon, and he didn't get paid yet. Gavin Lux is making $3.3 million this year. The Dodgers signed Kirby Yates just to do it. Tanner Scott. So the Dodgers were willing to trade Gavin Lux for prospects. Mike Sirota shouted out again. So instead of keeping him for $3.3 million to potentially be a 900 OPS guy like he was in the second half, they traded him for prospects, but they spent $17 million to sign Michael Conforto. That's Brian Windhorse mean. Something doesn't pass the sniff test there. Watch out. Michael Conforto, potential big free agency inbound if he does it for a full season. Okay, so I teased half my theory there. Teased a couple theories at the end there.
Couple theories.
What else was I going to talk about? I mentioned doing around the horn. Oh, the road trip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's see if there's anything I need to mention from around baseball. Twins, Astros, no. Royals, Orioles, not really. Rangers might be good. They swept the Rays. Contributions from a lot of different hitters. Kumar Rocker with a solid start. Tyler Mahle back. How do you like that? Angels, Guards, nope. Tigers, White Sox, nope. Red Sox hit a ton. Wheelier, Trevor Story, and then Bregman and Devers on that final game. Red Sox offense might start clicking. Let's see. Reds, Brewers, not really. D-backs, Nats, sorry. Cubs, Padres, I guess that ties into part of the story, so I can save some of that. But they played a wild game on the final day, 8-7 Padres. Mets swept the Blue Jays, and they're pitching the hell out of the ball. If the Mets do this for a half season or a full season, that means they're one of the new Brewers we can pitch teams, which is scary. Good for them, but scary. A's, there's got to be something about them. They played in Sacramento, and then they played in snow in Denver. A's might hit a lot, which is weird because they might pitch a lot. But they've got another top prospect that Foolish Bailey's yelling about to be called up, Nick Kurtz. Tyler Soderstrom's been going well for them. Jacob Wilson, know how the A's kind of just feel like they happen fast sometime? The A's could feel fast this year. Not speed like a good baseball team. Whatever that means. 75 wins.
Would be a huge jump in perception.
But I don't think a winning record is not out of play if things start to really click for this A's team. And if you have a winning record, that means you're sniffing wild card, which, I don't know, Sacramento rallying around a team. interested. Jolly pushed that narrative a little bit. Yanks, Trent Grisham's the best.
Got some news on the Yanks.
What's that?
Well, you know Adam Ottavino's here.
Yeah.
Jack Curry mentioned that that's probably for a day before Hamilton comes back tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. I had a good sniff on that one.
Yeah.
Dodgers Phillies played a lot of high level baseball. If you want your team to compete, or if you get excited about the Athletics like I just did, go look at Yamamoto Luzardo, Sasaki Nola, Glasnow Sanchez. The bullpens are stacked. The lineups are stacked. Crazy last game. If you're into sports gambling and the Dodgers go down a run or two, might be worth investing in.
Gonna have some time to cash out, it feels like.
Cashing out's okay, too. Don't forget that. Don't let people pressure you into that. I mean, Teoscar, Tommy Edman versus lefties is a sick puppy. A Castellanos Grand Slam. Those teams are on different levels than a lot of teams. Especially like that Dodgers bullpen is disgusting. If the Phillies can keep their starters healthy and kick one or two of those guys to the bullpen at the end of the year, that can really level the playing field. If we get that in the CS, this 25 season will be a win. Marlins Braves 2-game rainout. All right, story time. We'll get right back into it a second with our friends from DraftKings. The weather is warming up. Thank Gord. Which means it's time to head to the ballpark, root for the home team, or watch from your couch and place some bets at the DraftKings Sportsbook. Right now, they are offering new customers $150 in bonus bets instantly after betting just $5 when you use code JMSports. If you love the thrill of live betting, DraftKings has you covered. I've been on the pitch speed game on a little bit of a heater, not going to lie. Hey, if you know that breaker's coming, why not get in on it? And they have so much more. If it's not available yet in your state, they still have their daily fantasy games at DraftKings with a shot to win cash prizes. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use code JMSports. Bet just $5 on any wager and get $150 in bonus bets instantly. That's code JMSports only at DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. If you have no idea, buckle up. So I'll do the full thing for everyone. End of last year, we were close to meeting some company goals. So literally on New Year's Eve, I believe, Jeremy, one of our sales guys, great guy, one of the best guys you've ever met. You want Jeremy to be your neighbor. If we did an office vote, Jeremy would win that easily. Easily. You'd get some of the quirky guys.
Yeah, there's some one-off faves, but
people wouldn't believe it.
Like, if you could do ranked choice voting,
Jeremy,
he's on everybody's top 3.
1-1. He'd have every tool. He won't sleep with your wife. He'll do whatever you like. Helpful, nice, sweet man. Anyways, so on the last day of the year, reaches out to DraftKings and is like, "Hey, DraftKings, we're partners. Is there anything you guys are looking for? We're close to meeting some company goals. This would be big, and we can still this isn't fugazi money." And they were like, "Well, honestly, we'd love to do something at our DraftKings Sportsbook in Chicago." And we said, "Okay." He's like, reach out to us. We said, live event. We'll go there before opening day. Bada bing, bada boom. Everyone was in. Let's do it. Flash forward to Wednesday night at the airport. We had 2 crews. There's a Newark crew and a LaGuardia crew. I was at LaGuardia. Jeremy and Taylor Jackson, who runs our socials. We were having a delightful time. I have a Amex card that allows me into lounges. Jeremy and Taylor did not have that, but we're traveling on the company dime that if I'm for free, pay a little extra for them, and our flight had already been delayed. So if you're buckling up for an airport time, not bad. And by the way, if you've never checked it out, food and drink. So if you're like a belly up to the airport bar kind of person and you're just going to buy $20 beers, go to the lounge and you're kind of covered for 3 of them. Anyways, ad.
You can make your money back if you want to play the game.
You can do good, and it's just more comfortable, and you're not dealing with the riffraff. I know it sounds yuppie, but I don't know. Give it a shot. How about that?
If a delay's happened, look into the price.
Oh, yes. 100%. Anyways, we're having a delightful time. Me, Jeremy, and Taylor, a well-respected crew at this company. I was bragging about the crew before the flight. I was comparing it to football. I was like, these two can block and tackle anything that I'm the running back out in the flat. I'm the free safety making plays. We go there. Everyone's having a nice time. We're eating. A drink, we all get a happy hour drink. Flight gets delayed more. Okay, second drink, flight gets delayed more. Okay, we're starting to get nervous. But we're like, hey, at least we're in the lounge. This is safe. And we're like, you know what? As long as we get out tonight, our flight and our New Jersey cruise flight both got delayed till 8:45, which we're like, ooh, it's the same time, which maybe that's good. Like, we're both flying to Chicago. Maybe that means the weather is clearing and that gives us a landing path and blah, 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 all that. You're making up your own theories. We get delayed again. All right, a little scary. But it holds there. I think like 9:30, 9:40. We might have got up to 10. But it's time to go to the gate. And there's people at the gate and you're looking for the flight. The other crew, New Jersey crew, has boarded their plane.
Oh.
That's a good sign, right? Wasn't a good sign. Both flights canceled. You go in the scramble mode of when can you rebook the flight because a bunch of other flights got delayed and canceled to Chicago. No flights till Friday. We have a live event, 5:30 on Thursday. Current problem. So, this live event at Wrigley, which we're going to Cubs opening day. That's exciting. We're hosting a live event. I want to say there was 100 people or so there. That the fact that anyone would still show up to see me and Jolly Olive talk is mind-blowing. That it's okay. What are we going to do? Let's see. We've got a big company van. Should we drive it? That's a crazy drive. I don't know. We're all game planning. We had sounded the alarm in the company, so we've got other people helping us with flights and stuff. Sam, who a lot of John Boy people probably know at this point. Sam's on our side, and she's found us a flight from Washington, which, okay, that's the other thing you can do. You can find places from elsewhere. So we get a flight that's first thing Thursday morning, Washington to Chicago. Boom, let's do it. Let's meet up at the warehouse. That's where we keep the van. Let's get in the van. Let's drive to Chicago. Hop in the van. Or DC, excuse me. I always forget that. I always forget that because an hour in, we all get the notification on our phones. And, dude, we're running pretty hot. It's midnight. It turned into a road trip. We're not going to sleep. We're planning on where to park the van. There's a while we were going to park it at Sam's parents' house. I don't even know why that came up, but it sounded fun. So an hour in, vibes are kind of high. I drink an energy drink. Kind of need to. #old. #driving.
Mm-hmm.
I take the first shift. We'll circle back to that in a second. So, hour in on the road, flight gets canceled. Everyone's like, okay, what are we doing? Are we canceling this? Again, the excitement and going back to the origins of booking this event to hit company goals. It's all right, check already cleared, but we can do another event and do another time, blah, blah, blah. It's yeah, that's a lot of work. My life's been busy. I don't know. I'm kind of open to bombing it. First huge break. The path we were currently traveling was the path. It wasn't get off this exit, turn around, and go get on this thing.
So the amount south you had driven hadn't derailed.
Correct.
Anything.
So we're still driving south, and it was when you punched in Wrigley, because you're not going to actually punch in the hotel or anything like that. Punched in Wrigley, and it was stay on this for 12 and a half more miles. And you're like, well, that's kind of a good sign. And then, you're checking everyone's vibe in the car. Are we doing this? We're still excited. We can do this if everyone's down. We kind of get a somewhat consensus to go. So we're going. So now we're 2 hours in, and it's starting to hit witching hour. It's raining. The storm that has canceled our flights we are about to drive into. Might have rethought things thinking about that. It's me and Rob Scirocco up front. You know, he's playing lifeguard. I'm driving. White knuckling. The rain's really raining. And it's 1:30 a.m., 2 a.m. The only other cars on the road are 18-wheelers in pouring rain. So every time you're passing one, you're holding on.
Locking in.
So, yeah, now we're 2.5 hours in. Sales Jeremy, who I mentioned, sweet man neighbor, we thought everyone was asleep. He popped up between me and Rob in the front seat, and he's like, guys, we don't have to do this. Which was very dramatic at the time. But he just didn't want us to think from a sales front we couldn't take care of this. And I was like, no, man, we're in. Do you know how sad it would be right now to turn around another 2.5 hours? Like, I'd rather just die on the road. I'd rather we just got stuck in Indiana and started a new life.
Well, that's one of the options.
Right? So we hit the road. Me and Rob Scirocco, I'm white knuckling all night. We go through 3 Red Hot Chili Peppers albums. We're singing along like in that half scared, stay awake, don't crash mode. Gets us till 6 a.m. Well, we had one stop. These are witching hours. We stopped in some, I'll say it on here, bumfuck town in Pennsylvania, that your option is 2 gas stations and a McDonald's. They're all closed. So the only place that was open, Best Western.
Hell,
it was a sponsor for the trip. I made such a jakey, not a scene in there, but there's a guy working the Best Western overnight. Yeah, tough guy, has probably seen some crap. We walk in and I'm like, hey there, we're not staying here. We're actually road tripping, and it's actually kind of for Best Western. Can we use your bathroom? And he was like, I don't care. Use the bathroom, get out of here. Yell John Boy Media on the way out. I hope he tunes in. 6 a.m., I had hit my, I worked a full day the day before, airport, couple happy hour drinks, Celsius, scary driving through the night. 6 a.m., I was done. I'd given everything I'd had. If someone else can get us there, Jeremy Taylor took a driving shift. Only Jolly didn't get in the front seat, which I thought was weird.
Just couldn't help but notice.
Once the sun came up around 7:30 a.m., like life became normal again, that the road trip the rest of the way was like doable. 3-hour stops or regiments or whatever, that we get to Chicago, check into the hotel around 2:30. Live show is at 5:30. The Newark crew that got on the plane and deplane that we met at the warehouse, they had checked the bags of technology. One of the 3 bags got to us, so that was good. So we've got a little bit of a janky setup, for lack of a better term, but we get there. We're set up enough. We're going to do a live show for the people. Worst case, DraftKings, if you're anyone in business and relationship building, they were so appreciative. They couldn't believe we would do this for them. Again, a little bit of craziness on our side, but a nice moment for both sides. Live show went well, stayed after, a lot of good people, a lot of baseball folk. My buddy Jared was in town for work. He came by. That was cool. That was a long, crazy night because I had some drinks after the show. I didn't sleep well, which if you remember, I didn't sleep. So I wake up the next morning. We record Talking Baseball, which you can go check it out. Me in Rob's hotel room with half a setup. Me and Rob both looked like 2 guys in their 30s that hadn't slept enough. So that Talking Baseball, I don't know if it goes down as legendary or not, but that was a tough scene at 7:30 a.m. Central Time. We record that. I leave the hotel room. I'm so tired. I go and get a burrito at a place called like Excellent Burritos. I don't know. It made me laugh. Ate it. Get super tired. I just ate a burrito. I'm so tired. Go back to sleep. It's like 11:30 or 11. I'm like, I can't wake up yet. Like my body just isn't ready. We're supposed to be going to Cubs opening day. I'm like, all right, finally get my stuff ready. 11:30. Me and Rob head over there. Jolly and Taylor were doing Best Western stuff. Get to the stadium, get press passes, which there's always a little bit of a juggle. You never know with some of the stadiums. Cubs, hook it up. We get our press passes. We walk right onto the field. I forget that it's Cubs opening day. So they've got like the little carpet out. They're doing fireworks. They're doing player introductions. So there's a bunch of media members and camera people on the field. Both teams. And then me and Rob, I'm wearing a Cubs jersey. Nobody else is except Cubs players. I'm not a Cubs fan. Here I am at Cubs opening day on the field in Jersey. A lot of bright spots. I forgot how many players we were connected to on the Cubbies. Jameson Tyone was there that I was like, oh, shoot. Like, didn't even process that. Justin Turner, me and him gave each other a nice little acknowledgement. Ian Happ, obviously. PCA had a full combo with him pregame, which just blows my mind because he's the opposite of what you'd expect his personality would be if you saw the hair and the cleats and the piercings and stuff. He is cerebral and just a great dude. And I was like, dude, you're about to start Wrigley opening day. He was like, yeah, I'm pretty excited. Like, okay, dude. The Cubs were a little exhausted from opening days. This was their fourth opening day. Japan, I think 2 roadies, and then at Wrigley. So they were a little over the player announcements.
I guess at least they get to end on their own.
Right. Like Cubs opening day was pretty damn sick. Go Cubs go after they win. Hadn't experienced that before. That was awesome. Hung out. We had some salespeople in town. Hung out with them at the bars after the game. Got a lot of love from people. And it was a really cool experience. I'm still exhausted. I woke up to go to the gym this morning and I could not. So that was kind of tough. But yeah, shout out to the good people of Chicago. The Padres, I forgot, again, because I was doing like Cubbies press and I'm in a Cubs jersey. I forgot the Padres were like over there. And I was like, oh, shoot. Like I didn't get to see anyone over there. And I was like, oh, my guy Tyler Wade outrighted 3 days before. Tough. Jake Cronenworth, big JM guy. Me and him have a few connections at this point. That he sees me there on the Padres like line after getting announced. He sees me and he's like, oh, gives me the point. And then he goes, you? First pitch? I was like, no, dude. It's Cubs opening day. They have all their Hall of Famers throwing out the first pitch. So I was not tapped in for that. But Wandy Peralta out of the bullpen that day. I know. I little bit missed opportunity with the Padres. Game was freezing. I was sitting in the chair, kind of having a bad time for a little bit. Cubs win. Padres almost rallied late. Stadium got electric. Had 1 beer, started feeling better. Like I mentioned, post-game beers, started feeling a lot better. Hotel room by 9, pure exhaustion. Wake up, time to go to the airport, home. So, whoa. It was a crazy trip. Still have a little bit of it in my voice, a little bit in my legs. And I don't know. Glad we did it. Glad it's done. Great to see the good people of Chicago on opening day. And I think I might become opening day guy. I haven't done a Yankees one in a minute, I don't think.
Yeah, but usually on the opening day, we're doing a stream for game 1.
Right.
But if their home opener doesn't line up.
There's a lot of home openers that I could, even locally, Mets, Phillies, Boston. Like I can start checking off. I don't know. It's always a cool experience. Like Texas goes nuts. I didn't get to go to one, but the Texas Rangers go insane. Denver, I went to a Rockies opening day. Insane. That every, I got a lot of replies. People were like, let me flex our opening day to you. And I'd like to. And if I do that, if I start checking off a couple a year, I could do that before I'm not like old. If you do 1 a year, cuts to me at Marlins opening day as 60-year-old man. I don't know if I'm watching that content. All right. You got theories. You got sports. You got baseball. How about the national championship game? I shout out my UConn women before, dominant. That Duke game is all time. All time. Houston, who I picked in my bracket, I filled it out live on this show. They're the underdogs against Florida. Florida could have lost to UConn. Stop yelling, little man. Comment something you liked and something you hated from this show. We will be back Wednesday. Love.
Brought to you by Cushy Dreams.